Eddie Rama told the European Parliament President, Roberta Metsola, that he said, Karma is a bitch, and he was talking specifically about the corruption scandal that has dogged the European Parliament. And the problem really is the level of hypocrisy that it exposes. So Eddie Rama is quite right that the European Parliament demands of new members to the European community a higher standard than it demanded in the past. More than half of the European countries, he said, would not be able to enter the European Union anymore. And he was speaking at a thing called Politico for the World Economic Forum in Davos. He says, I'm not talking about the former communists, I'm also talking about the founders, believe me. And he's quite right. There's been a probe into whether foreign governments, including Qatar and Morocco, have managed to influence the work of the European Union. And the inquiry has seized on a vice president of the parliament, a former MEP, a parliamentary assistant, NGO bosses, so many people, the great and the good, the high and the mighty, have been implicated in this scandal. And he pointed out, or he implied anyway, that countries like Malta, Metsola's home country, became members of the bloc when these standards were certainly not as they are today. So Albania today ranks 110th on the Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index. That is below South Africa, below Belarus, below Kazakhstan. And Metsola might well stress that the Parliament has always been extremely positive when it comes to EU enlargement, because a lot of us remember when we joined. But that memory needs to be educated by the fact that the standards have changed. And karma is a bitch. That's what Eddie Rama said. So, of course, I don't approve that Rama himself is implicated in a scandal involving the CIA. I don't approve of that. And the exchange of money and attempts to smear the reputation of the opposition leader in Albania. Well, his reputation is already smeared. It doesn't need further smearing. But Rama is right. Roberta, sorry, I have to say to you, when this corruption case got out, I said karma is a bitch. And I'm afraid Eddie Rama is quite correct. Metsola has proposed reforms to the EU, but they're late. They're late. And they haven't stopped the scandal from erupting. And the same sort of scandals that are erupting in Europe are erupting in Britain as well. Somehow our standards in public life have slipped to a point where, frankly, we are scraping the barrel. We need to have a serious rethink. And we certainly can't be holding other people to standards that we don't ourselves adhere to. We need to have a serious rethink. We need to think about the hypocrisy that is inherent in what we are doing. And we need to wonder, how do we get this reset? And how do we reach out to others to help us to reform? Maybe actually what we need is people like Eddie Rama in positions of authority, with or without the smears.